What's up, and welcome back to Campfire Convos. On this episode, it's going to be a little bit different, as I'm pretty much just going to be my own guest for the episode, but we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But before we do, we're sitting on the Click Chairs Classic 2.0s, sitting around the Solo Stove Bonfire 2.0, which is a little bit of an upgrade from the one we normally do. We're going to talk about that in a second, but we're going to be sipping on some Leinenkugel White Mocha Stout, as well as some Southern Tier Maple Warlock Imperial Pumpkin Stout. And then we're also going to take a few nips of the Campfire Convos House Decanter whiskey, which is basically just a couple different whiskeys that I like. What you do with a decanter is you basically put like the last little bit of every bottle that you have, and well, just the ones you like, and it makes you a nice little house blend, which is basically just all of your favorite stuff put together. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but this one, pretty solid. But let's talk about this really quick, and then we're going to get into the rest of the episode. For this episode, it's basically going to be a reflection episode. We're going to talk about some different things we have coming up, some different things we've worked on in the past, and we're working on presently, and that we're going to be working on in the future. And Carla's going to help me with that by reading some questions also, and just make sure we flow a little bit better. Before we do that, we got the bonfire, which is the step up in size from the Ranger, because we're going to be doing we're anticipating needing to do some more evening hour shoots with the sun going down a lot sooner. It's a lot harder to schedule guests at sunset, so we're probably going to have to do some darker episodes. And this should give us a little bit of a bigger flame and hopefully a little bit more light so that this looks as good as it possibly can for you guys. So that's this explained. They're not a sponsor. They should be. Solo Stove, send us some fire pits. We'll just have maybe a brand new shiny one every episode, and then we'll just donate it to someone else who needs it. I don't know. It's just an idea. But yeah, no. So we're going to be running through some stuff, and we are going to thank our actual beer sponsor, Brewbank. We're not drinking their beer today because I only have one left, and I want to save it for a guest who can experience it for the first time, and I don't have time to make a trip there before my next trip, so I had to save it. But this is these beers will do for now. They're not quite Brewbank, but they're so far so good. Well, I haven't tried the pumpkin stout yet, but this one actually pretty solid. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is our collaboration with the Shop with a Cop for the Meander More Youth Camp. So if you are not familiar, in our last episode, we had our guest Steve with us, who is the founder and organizer of Shop with a Cop, which is a nonprofit that basically just gets police officers to take underprivileged children Christmas shopping around Christmas time. And it's a cause that has been really close to my heart and something that I've really enjoyed watching grow. And even more so, I was fortunate enough to actually be able to witness the police officers take some kids shopping and the impact that it actually had on these kids. So after seeing the impact and talking to Steve, we kind of organically came up with the idea that we should collaborate and do a camping camp for kids, just to get them outside and to connect with nature. Because my goal with Meander More is to get as many people outside as possible, and his goal is to help as many kids as possible. So it just seemed like a good collaboration idea. We're still working through a lot of the details, but what I do want to reiterate, or not reiterate because I haven't said it yet, but what I would like to explain is that all of the proceeds from our Substack subscriptions, whether you subscribe for a month, a year, lifetime, whatever it is, goes straight to the Shop with a Cop collaboration until our next bonus episode. So it was supposed to be the end of this month, October 2025, but because this episode got pushed back, which we can also talk about a little bit later, I'm extending that another week further back just to make sure we give the same amount of time for all of the subscriptions to come in. So again, if you subscribe to Substack between now and the next week when the next bonus episode comes out, 100% of that goes directly to supporting a kid to get them to the youth camp. I think I said that all correctly. If I didn't, yell at me in the comments. But nicely yell at me in the comments, because I'm doing my best. But yeah, I think that's everything. At least that I can think of. I'm gonna drink more beer, and Carla is gonna start asking us questions so that we can roll through this. Carla, what do you got for us?
Well, I was going to say that while you drink that beer, I agree with you about Solo Stove, because if they could send me a fire pit so I could have one behind the camera back here, that'd be great. It's a little chilly out here.
Yeah. It's, again, with the sun going down, I don't know if you guys know this, when the sun goes down, it gets a little colder out. And I have a fire. Carla does not. And Carla also could not wear the jacket that she brought today because it's a loud jacket. So she's basically just taking a giant one for the team and freezing her ass off actively. So Solo Stove, send her one too. We'll make sure we have a little behind the scene. We'll just take camera reception every episode. I'll take a picture from my point of view. She could take one from her point of view. It's great marketing material. Just saying.
That'd be great.
But all right, I'm gonna drink more beer. What's your question?
Okay. So I wanted to start with a couple questions about the podcast. This is our 23rd episode, which, if you don't know, it's a big deal for podcasts to get to their first 20 episodes. And we have now surpassed that, which is really exciting. So I have a couple questions about the journey of this podcast.
Okay.
So which episode or guest stands out as a turning point for the show's direction or message?
So two things come to mind immediately. The first one being after our first 5 episodes. So the first 5 episodes were all shot in the same weekend, and they were basically a group of my friends put together by Carla to jumpstart the podcast. I'd been talking about it for a while. I'd wanted to do it. I just had not pulled the trigger. And we did a content weekend where we basically just went away. And the whole thing was, hey, we're going to do these episodes and figure it out. So that's pretty much what we did. The first 5 episodes were pretty much just sitting around the fire, talking about gear and outdoor experiences. And I really loved that, but it wasn't the direction that I really saw Campfire Convos going. So when we came back from that and we started recording other episodes, we kind of got away from strictly talking about outdoor stuff, and we got more into the real conversations you would have around a campfire, and that is just being whatever it is with that person. So you sit around the campfire with a lot of different people and you have a lot of different conversations. And that is finally where we're at, and we're refining that a little bit yet and trying to figure out how it works and what it looks like long term. But we've changed pretty much since that 6th episode, I think it was. And then the second one that comes to mind was my dad's episode. And for those of you that don't know, we had a Father's Day episode released on the week of Father's Day, and that was with my dad. And that was the first episode that I kind of got vulnerable with a guest, and we had some very good conversations, but some not always the most fun to talk about conversations. And spoiler, just in case you haven't seen it, but just dealing with, the loss of loved ones, and just all of the advice that had been given that he's always been able to provide to me. It felt like it was a chance to give him a voice to provide that to other people. And whether they take it or not, I can't help that. But I was fortunate enough to, one, have a video with a conversation with my dad around a campfire, and I'll have that forever. And 2 is to give his voice a little bit more room to grow. So both of those paired together were a pretty cool turning point. And from there, I think we've kind of continued that with our guests going forward.
I very much agree. I think that was a great episode, and I think, like you said, every episode has really followed that same trajectory in a really good way.
Yeah. Before we go to the next question, because it is getting dark, I want to get us a little bit more flame. So we're going to throw some logs on the fire. These logs are brought to you by Steve. I almost said his last name. I don't do that. Just Steve. We're just sticking with Steve. You can figure out what Steve it is, though. Steve, you know who you are. But Steve, thank you very much. You should definitely be like Steve. Keep the conversation going. And we're going to throw another little one in. If you want to be like Steve, check the link in the description down below. There's a Buy Me a Log link, and that is basically just buying firewood to throw on the fire to keep the conversation going just a little bit longer. All right, this will get bigger, so hopefully. You look cold back there.
Yeah. If my teeth start chattering,
I'm sure we'll hear it.
yeah.
All right, what's your next question?
From solo episodes to guests, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned about storytelling and connecting with people around the campfire?
I would say the main thing is that you don't always get to talk about what you want to talk about. I've had a lot of really awesome guests, and I have known most of them pretty well. So knowing that there's certain topics that I want to talk about that might not be fitting into the conversation has been an adjustment. So I can't think of any example off the top of my head, but basically just giving into the organic flow of the conversation that happens around the campfire is being the main big thing to do. I think that answered the question.
Okay, so my next question is, you have built a loyal community now around authenticity and having these conversations around the campfire. How do you keep that grounded, like around the fire feeling as your audience continues to grow?
I think that kind of loops back to what I just said, and that is being just giving in to the organic flow of the conversation that happens around the campfire. I think the smoke needs to fuck off for a second. I think it's really important to let whoever the guest is say what they feel. And again, that doesn't always flow exactly with the route that I want the conversation to go. But I really don't care where it goes as long as the person who I'm having it with is saying the things that they want to say. Because a big part of this is just giving them the voice and the opportunity and the stage to say what they want to say. So I feel like as long as I double down on that and let that flow happen, it will remain authentic. I don't script anything. I don't know how you would even script something like this, but it's just whatever the conversation happens. I mean, even our conversations now, like we have questions written down, but we don't know what we're going to say and what we're going to do. We might have a little bit of an idea since we're recording this. Oh, it is a squirrel. Since we're recording this for the second time because another camera malfunction. But that's neither here nor there. But for the most part, we don't know what we're going to say, where the conversation is going to go. So I think that keeps it authentic in itself. That is the loudest squirrel I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, that sounded much bigger than a squirrel. Mm-hmm. Like, I was prepared for something bigger to jump out.
The same. And I'm like, in the tree? What is in the tree that's that large?
I mean, good news is if that happened, we would catch it on camera, so.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Okay, so if you could give one piece of advice to the Mitch who recorded episode 1, what would it be?
That was a spicy sip. I would say the biggest piece of advice I could give is to get ahead. I feel like a lot of times I've caught myself where the schedule says every other Wednesday, and it's Tuesday night, like it is right now, and I'm recording an episode, going home, editing the episode, and then uploading the episode, and scrambling to basically get it posted in time for our schedule. The schedule is very important to me, and I missed last week's. For those of you that don't know, if you don't follow the other social medias, I had an update. This episode was supposed to come out last week, and it was actually with my brother, who I visited. He lives a few hours away. We shot an episode in his backyard. It was a great episode, great conversation with my brother, but I had a glitch with the camera, and we didn't have audio for my entire section of the conversation. So basically, you could hear him talking. You couldn't really hear me talking. And with a podcast, the audio is kind of the most important part. So we had to push back, which I was not happy about. And I was trying to fill different guests for this week, and schedules just don't align. So with not being ahead like I should be, we needed to improvise, which this, as far as improvising, I'm kind of glad we got to do this, because I think we were kind of overdue for a solo episode where, you know, I get to reflect and think about all the stuff we have going on. But episode 1 excuse me again. The main thing is get ahead, stay ahead. Don't shoot 5 episodes and then wait till those 5 episodes air. Shoot 5 episodes and then go shoot 5 more, or go shoot 3 more, and just keep stacking the episodes so that you have plenty of content to pull from, and you're not stuck scrambling to get guests and to lower your quality. Because I think the more room you have, the more options you have to make sure your quality is maintained and even increased, which again is something that I would really like to work on. So, yeah. You're doing great. You started.
I think that's pretty good advice. And I think for the fact that we've made it to 23 episodes, and even though we've had some moments like that, we still made it to 23 episodes.
Yeah.
And we learn more with every episode. And I think that's something to be proud of.
I agree. I think you've mentioned the 23 episode, and you mentioned that being a big deal, but I don't think you mentioned why. We're in the top 10%?
Yeah, so I believe it's 90% of podcasts don't make it past 20 episodes.
And we're at 23, so...
I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, fuck that other 90%. All right.
And we keep
Ask
getting
her the
better.
question. I'm going to try to open this beer with this log, so...
Oh boy.
Bear with me.
Do you remember what happened last time you did that?
Yeah, I'm going to do it a different way than that, though. We're going to... Ouch. Hey, ask your question. Quit laughing at me.
You notice he's doing that behind the solo stove?
Yeah, just in case I shatter a bottle again.
Again.
I mean, for the first time. That
Okay.
smells really good.
I'm very curious about that one.
And it's 8.6%, so...
Oh, shit.
I'm caveman in this thing.
Anyways, so now we're going to pivot a little bit, and I want to go back to what we talked about in the beginning with the...
That's good.
Yeah?
Sorry, keep going.
You're good. With the collaboration with Shop with a Cop and Meander More. I'm really excited about this collaboration. I think it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to be a part of it. So I figured our viewers might want a little bit more info.
Okay.
I feel like you might have touched on this a little bit, but can you tell us like what inspired the collaboration?
So it was a very organic collaboration. If you watch the episode, you pretty much heard all of the thoughts come out in action. Steve has an organization and it has goals. I have an organization and it has goals. And through our organic flow of the conversation, there was some overlap that was seen. And both of us are very business oriented. So seeing the overlap and seeing the opportunity for something was something that got us both really excited. So having that was kind of what jump-started it. And then going from there, I mean, just on my end, to be able to potentially have the impact on children's lives and their parents' lives. And for him, I'm sure it's pretty similar to the same. It's just, I don't know how you could pass up an opportunity. If you have a chance to do something like that, I think it's your responsibility to do it. So that's what we're going to try to do.
I agree. So what's the goal of the camp? Like, what kind of experience do you hope that kids are going to walk away with?
I mean, the goal is to get kids and their parents outside. I'm obviously focused on the kids. We're going to have the kids outdoors, and this is a tentative plan. We don't have anything 100% set in stone yet. But basically, 2 hours a day after school for 5 days, we take the kids and teach them outdoor skills, whether it's a fire, a shelter, whatever the theme of the day might be. And we get them outside and get them working as a team to do things outside. So giving that the base, and then the hope is that the kids then take that and either go to their friends or their parents or their relatives, and they get them outside as well. Because, you know, if anyone knows how kids are, once they're set on something, they try to get you to do that all the time. So hopefully, you know, hey, maybe little Jimmy wants to have a campfire every Wednesday night, and now he gets to start a campfire for his family, and they sit around and they have conversations just like we're having, and then the long-term impact of that potentially is really big. So I think that kind of sums up the goal for as far as mine goes.
It kind of reminds me, I just read this story today about a dad and how the dad like put the kids to bed at night, and like they had a whole routine, and it was this really sweet routine that as the kids aged, the routine changed. But then at the end of the story is the kid is now an adult, and he's talking to his dad about why he did this. And then the kid starts doing the same thing with his kids. And when you said, having a kid like start a campfire with his family every once a week or whatever, it could be really cool to just think about, okay, that kid has that campfire with his family, and then he grows up and has kids, and now I'm going to start crying thinking about his kids starting campfires with like, okay, I'm going to stop now.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that is the thought process is, I think everyone's goal is to leave a lasting impression on whoever they can. And the cool thing with social media is all you can do is put out what you put out. And I don't think you ever really know the impression that you actually have for a lot of people. Like, it could be something as simple as like, okay, a TikTok, right? I clip all these videos and I turn them into TikToks. Maybe I post that TikTok, it gets 3 views, but one of those 3 views was someone who it really, really just connected with. That could be something that sways a decision in their life that changes the course of their life. And I will never know it, and they're probably not going to remember, oh, hey, you're Mitch from Campfire Convos, and I saw your video and did this. Like, they might not know, and I might not know. But the possibility that that's happening out there actively is really cool to think about. So just keep running it.
Yeah, I agree. Why do you feel it was important to partner with Shop with a Cop for this event?
So I think the main thing is just the impact that you want to have. I believe Steve had mentioned on the podcast, the more that you can connect with these kids throughout different time periods in their life, the more likely it is to have a lasting positive impact. Like, you can connect with these kids at Christmas time and get them shopping with police officers, and that's a great thing. But the more often you can do that, the better it is. And to take that from once a year to maybe twice a year, or maybe we have a camp in the spring, a camp in the summer, camp in the spring, camp in the fall, whatever it is, multiple times a year, you're able to connect with these kids. It increases the likelihood of having a positive impact, and it also increases the reach of the impact you can have. So I think partnering with them, and I mean, obviously they're a cause that means a lot to me. So that's one. And two, to be able to connect my goals with their goals is another bonus. And then I would say probably the most important one is just, it gets kids around people who really give a shit to and Steve, he's really passionate about connecting police officers with kids to impact their life in a positive way. In a positive way. But he knows a lot more firsthand stuff of the impact that can have, where you take one simple thing and you turn a kid ever so slightly from his trajectory and he ends up in a completely different life. I have not been able to witness that firsthand. I mean, I've seen it, but not necessarily something that I've been affecting. So I'm also really excited to be able to assist in him accomplishing his goal, which I think is a very, very important one.
I agree with that. I think that's really great. Okay, so I know you're still in the beginning stages of planning this, but what has been the most rewarding part of planning something like this, and what's the most challenging so far?
I would say the most rewarding part is just a new challenge. I really like new challenges. I really like the possibility for impact, and both of those things are happening with this collaboration. So obviously I don't know if this is obvious to viewers or listeners. I have not had a ton of experience with assisting in teaching kids in much capacity. I coached high school baseball for a little while, and I absolutely loved it and the impact that you could have there. So it kind of feels like a loop back to that, where you get to impact kids at an important time in their life. And then as far as a challenge goes, I think, I mean, navigating through uncharted territory. I have not personally done too much of these kinds of things. I've assisted with them. I've come on and volunteered at doing these kinds of things, but I have not, from start to finish, put these things together. So I think this is a time to be able to do that, and it's exciting, kind of scary, but fun.
Awesome. So between the podcast, Meander More, and now this collaboration with Shop with a Cop, how do you balance creativity with community impact?
I would say balance is one of the major challenges overall. I mean, how am I balancing what again? Or ask that one more time.
Between the podcast, Meander More, and now this new collaboration with Shop with a Cop, how do you balance creativity with still having that community impact?
Yeah, I think the balance is definitely the big hurdle with this whole thing. You want to have an impact, but you want to make sure you have the right impact. And you want to make sure that, especially when you're working on a launch or a pilot for something, you want to make sure that money is being spent correctly. So, you know, you're putting the money in, or you're putting any funds into something that's going to have a positive impact and something that's going to have a lasting impact. So one of the challenges has been, you know, kind of controlling my goals, I guess. No, I don't know if goals is the right word. Just controlling my ideas. So, okay, this would be super cool to do for the kids, but does it have the impact that we need? And is it taking enough of the budget to justify what it's doing? Or is it taking too much of the budget to justify what it's doing? Or where does it fall in to impacting the kids while also maintaining creativity? I really like to go above and beyond with a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of things that I think would be really, really cool to do with this. And we're going to try to make those happen. And I think if we can get some sponsors that jump on as well, the likelihood of this happening are even greater. But the big thing is just getting that out there and figuring it out, I guess. I mean, there's going to be some failures. I'm sure I'm going to, you know, spend some money on some things that we don't even use for the thing, or, you know, maybe some safety gear that hopefully we never need to use. But having those and figuring that out and navigating all of those things are going to be a part of the experience on my end. And I have Steve to guide me along the way as well. So there could be challenges, but I'm not overly worried about them. All right, so it's a little dark, so we're going to throw more logs onto the fire. These logs are also courteous of Steve because he really wanted to make sure that the conversations kept flowing. So Steve, thank you so much. Be like Steve. Check the link in the description. There's a link to donate a log. Be like Steve. Steve's really cool in all of the ways that most of you don't even know yet, but you will get to. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you keeping the fire glowing so the conversations can keep flowing. That was good. Ooh. All right.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay, so do you think community partnerships like this one, like the camp and Shop with a Cop, will shape the future of Campfire Convos beyond just being a podcast?
I don't think it's going to shape Campfire Convos. I think Campfire Convos is going to continue on the path that it's going on, but I think it's going to shape me and the potential direction, and not necessarily direction, because I think it's is running parallel with my goals. But the community, I think this leaves a lot of potential to open up the community to a younger crowd, and I don't know. I feel like it potentially opens up the I think the potential is in most likely a separate group aside from the current Meander More community, because at its core, we want to get people outside. But realistically, when you look at adults and you look at the reasons people are getting outside, whether it's mental health or an escape or whatever it might be, I think that needs to be preserved in a way that is okay for adults to talk how adults talk, and shelter kids from how adults see the world and talk also. So I think the goals are the same, and the audience is a little bit different, well, very different, and we've been mostly adult targeted to this point, but it opens up a lot of opportunity, and without executing the event and seeing what happens, I don't think we'll know what potential there is there. So Campfire Convos will be unaffected, I think. I will be ideally changed, and then there will be some potential for some growth in the group and other whatnots. So, yeah.
That makes sense. I think Campfire Convos will grow just because you grow, but not specifically in the way that it operates.
Yeah. I mean, I think the goal and the core of Campfire Convos will stay the same, and the goal of having similar conversations and whatnot will be had. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to pivot into the last couple questions.
Okay.
These questions are a little bit more focused on, future guests, growth, and goals for Campfire Convos.
Okay.
So as you start thinking about next episodes, like what kind of guests or stories are you hoping to bring on next?
I would say the biggest goal for future guests is to be more uncomfortable on my part. So I've been kind of playing it safe. I've been picking people that I know what they're going to say, or I've heard the stories that I'm asking about before. And it gives me a lot of flexibility to ask a question and then kind of think of my next question without necessarily engaging in the conversation, because I know vaguely what they're going to say or how they feel about a topic. So going from that into a world where, I'm having a conversation with someone maybe for the first time, that's very intimidating, but also kind of the goal. I mean, there's not a person in the world I wouldn't sit next to and have a conversation with. We may not see eye to eye on everything, but at the end of the day, I'm going to give them my input, and they're going to give me theirs, and one of us might change our views, one of us might not, whatever it is, but I'm not going to let that stop me from giving my input. And I think that's probably my biggest thing that I'm trying to do moving forward, is saying what I truly mean and what I feel and support. And a large part of that came from a few episodes ago, and I'm not going to dive into that whole thing currently, but I think a big takeaway from my episode with Christian was just to stand up for what you mean and say what you mean, and let the audience filter themselves out. So if you don't support what I'm feeling, or you don't support the messages that I'm trying to spread, then this isn't for you. I'm not going to change my messages just because you don't like it. I would love to hear your point of view, and maybe that'll change my mind, maybe it won't. But I'm here to find my audience, and I know there's people like me out there, and I know there's people that feel the same way as me, and I know there's a lot of people that don't, but that'll kind of filter as well. I feel like that was a mini tangent on there, but...
Well, and I feel like the point of Campfire Conversations is to be able to have conversations where you agree or you don't agree, but you can still have those conversations.
Yeah, and I don't like using this term, and I say that every time I say this term, but it's a safe space. Like, You can sit next to the fire and we can talk, and you don't have to worry about me punching you in the face because you said something I don't like. I might give you a piece of my mind, but I'm not going to be violent with you. I think that is never something that I want to happen at Campfire Convos. We're having a peaceful conversation, and our goal is to enlighten each other on whatever the topic is. That's pretty much the extent of it.
Do you have any dream guests, whether they're just normal people living their lives, adventurers, creators, people doing good in their communities, anybody that you'd really love to have around the campfire? Maybe it's a specific person, or maybe it's like a kind of person. Yeah,
I would say, okay, two people that come to mind immediately. Peter McKinnon. For those of you who don't know, Peter McKinnon is a photographer and YouTuber. He is pretty much the reason that I got into photography. Before he blew up pre-COVID, I started following him, and I bought a camera and started doing photos. And I can't tell you, I've watched hours and hours and hours and hours of his videos, and it's taught me so much. And then to see the where his life has gone with photo and video and YouTube and all of the things has been a really big inspiration. So I think having him on would be awesome. And then another guest who it's more of a podcast thing than anything. It would be like a Joe Rogan. I obviously both of these guests are shooting for the stars because Joe Rogan is like the most popular podcaster right now. I don't even think it's close. I think he's the most viewed by a lot. I could be wrong, and then Peter McKinnon has like 5 or 6 million subscribers on YouTube and is always doing like these crazy photo shoots and projects. So will I get either of them? I don't know, but I think the kind of person that I want to have and that I want to connect with are people who want to make a difference and want to leave a legacy behind. And I think those are two things that kind of coincide with each other. I think when you make a difference in whatever industry it is or whatever area that you're working on, I think that you are remembered, and the legacy you leave is kind of directly connected to that. So pretty much just anyone who gives a shit about something enough to really stand up for what they believe in and to put their nose to the grindstone and just kind of chip away at whatever their goals are.
I think that sounds like perfect guests. Okay. Are there any specific topics or conversations that you think you are ready, or like the audience is ready to go like deeper into with the next episodes or future episodes?
I'm personally ready to go into any topic that the audience wants to hear. I would love to get more vulnerable. I would love to talk about deeper thoughts and opinions of all of this stuff. It really does not matter to me at all. I really need to get more in touch with the audience to see what they want and the things that they think and all of those aspects, because I don't know. Aside from my family and friends who reach out to me pretty consistently about watching the episodes, I don't know the feedback. And I'm not saying that my family wouldn't tell me if they didn't like it, but I think that they might be a little bit biased on a lot of the episodes. Like, oh, hey, Mitch has shot an episode. It's cool. That's awesome, and I truly, truly appreciate that. I do not want to take away from that at all. All of my family and friends that watch this consistently, you are the reason that I am continuing to do it, so thank you so much. But I also don't want you to be afraid to tell me when you think I'm either fucking up, or maybe I'm holding back, or if I'm doing something wrong. If you think that I'm misled, I'm never going to be upset with you for telling me that. Yes, I might not do what you think I should do. I'm an adult, and I'm going to take what you say and form my own opinion of it, and I'm going to do the thing I think I should do anyways. But I never want to get to the point where I discourage people from giving me their input. So I feel like that's kind of the sum of it.
A follow-up question to that. If you have like the audience telling you, are we going to get eaten by bears out here?
No.
If you have the audience telling you, what they think, and obviously there's a difference between the audience telling you like what they think of like what works and what doesn't work. But how do you take the audience feedback and keep the conversations as authentic and like flowy as you want them to be?
I feel like it really just boils down to disregarding the comments when it comes to conversation. That's definitely a deer. Yeah, I think it's just disregarding the comments during the conversation. Like, I read comments and I go through all the stuff quite often. So my view of things is ever evolving. That's not going to change. But I'm not going to allow someone else's displeasure with something prevent me from asking a question or prevent me from keeping on a topic. An example would be when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, we did an episode, and that was the episode with Christian. And I made some clips of that. One of the clips it's one of my top viewed. It might be my top viewed now. I don't know, but one of my top viewed videos on TikTok, and it has the most like hate-filled comment section I've ever had for me. And it's all just basically people shitting on the idea of Charlie Kirk being a good person or the idea of going to church as a good idea. And it's frustrating because, you put out videos and you want to connect with the right people. And obviously that video fell into the wrong section of TikTok. But it doesn't change my opinion. I take it and I see, oh wow, there's a lot of people out there that disagree with me. Why do they disagree with me? But I feel very firmly in my beliefs from what I've physically seen myself that I'm going to stand with that, and that's where I'm at. If you don't like it, that's fine, but it's not going to change my input of it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're saying is, if people are just spewing hate, obviously we're going to disregard the hate because that's not what this is here for. But if people are giving constructive feedback or asking like, hey, will you ask more of these questions? Or could you pose this kind of topic? You'll take that kind of feedback into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're spewing hate, I take it into consideration, but I'm not going to let hate speech, and I don't like the phrase hate speech, I'm not going to let hate scare me from asking the questions that I want to ask. And I'm not going to let hate speech scare me away from questions that my viewers want me to ask.
Right.
If I think my viewers want me to ask a specific guest a specific question, I don't give a shit if the haters are going to hate on it. I really don't. If nothing else, you're just helping me, because keep commenting your bullshit, because it just helps me go to more people. But yeah, I'm not gonna change my view and my style and my questions for haters, and I do very much take everything into consideration, whether it's a hate comment or constructive criticism or anything in between.
That's fair. How do you envision Campfire Convos evolving over the next year?
I really have no idea. I would say the main things are I'd like to get much more comfortable with having guests who aren't close friends or family members. I'd like to dive more into topics that are more meaningful to people and more emotion provoking. Not necessarily to invoke emotion, but just to be able to connect with people on that realm. And then I'd really like to be overall just a significantly better quality. I mean, just even sitting here, we're talking, we're around the campfire, it's dark as shit. I don't know how it looks. I'm hoping it looks okay. We've had cars drive past. Some dude you probably heard it, some dude just sped past, like, oh hey, my car's fast. And I don't even think it was a fucking car. It was just a truck that had no muffler on it that sounded kind of like a car. And he just sped past because there's a straightaway here. Helicopters fly over, all this stuff that's happening. There's deer walking, scaring the shit out of us everywhere. So I'd like to up the production value, but other than that, I don't really have many plans for the podcast that are set in stone anyways.
Is there anything that you're excited about trying with the podcast?
All of it.
Outside of conversations?
Yeah, all of it. I mean, having those conversations with people I'm not comfortable with, excited. Experimenting with different ways to make this look better, excited, because I mean, media is my background. If I'm sitting behind the camera and I'm shooting all of this stuff, I can control everything as it happens. But when I'm in front of the camera, it's a lot harder to control. Well, lights need to come on now, or, you know, settings on the camera need to change now, or all of those things. I can't control that from over here. And maybe I'll figure out a way to do so where, you know, okay, light gets to this point, these lights come on, the fire gets bigger, those lights come on. It would be really easy for me to come out here, set a spotlight up like I did in episode 3 and light this whole area. And I'm throwing around that idea. Probably what's going to happen is I'm going to watch this episode, see, oh, hey, it was too dark, couldn't use it. How can I fix that? Add some lights, add this, add that. And there's a lot of potential for that, but the one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to let the set potential stop me from having the conversations with the guests that I think would be most impactful. So if I'm on the road and I have the fire pit, and even if I just have the fire pit, we'll sit on some logs. We'll even if I don't have the fire pit, shit. If I'm somewhere and I connect with someone who I think the conversation would be really good, and I have my camera, I'm going to set up the camera, set up my mics. If I have good audio, that's the main thing. We're going to have the conversation that I think needs to be had, and we're going to go from there. That's the number one priority. Having the conversation is always going to be the number one priority, and the looking good and all of the other things is going to be secondary, but something that we'll definitely take into consideration when we possibly can.
Awesome. Okay, my last question. When you imagine looking back at episode 50, what do you hope people say about the journey that got you there?
Improved. I would say the goal was always constant improvement, and I think the easiest thing to improve on is just me being a better host, being a better conversationalist, being a better camera person, audio person, editor. All of the things that I can do to make every episode look and sound better are the goals. I mean, I catch myself saying all the time. This episode, I've been burping 15 times because I keep drinking too much beer too fast. All these different things are little micro tweaks that can be improved on. So from episode 23 to episode 50, I expect there to be a lot of very big improvements as far as quality in conversation, in video, in audio, in all of the things. So that would be my biggest thing. Episode 50, we're going to flash back to this, and I think maybe episode 50 we're going to have to do a callback to this episode and be like, hey, what did you expect to see? Did we accomplish it? And I would be very, very surprised if the answer is no.
I would too. That's all I got.
Nice. Nice. Okay, so to wrap this up, I want to say a few things. First off is the Biolog supporters. I'm trying to get through the list as quickly as I can. I really, truly appreciate you guys. I will get to all of you. I do want to make sure you get your own episodes, and that is according to your donations. So if you're donating, it will come up in an episode. I promise. We might have to adjust how we do the schedule based off of, how many people we have in the queue. But I don't want to water it down by throwing 6 logs from 17 different people in at the same time. So we're going to get there, I promise. This episode was brought to you by Steve. He was very generous to the podcast, and to the cause, and to the things that we're going to do. So Steve gets his own episode. It is truly appreciated, and we're going to make sure that it goes to a very good cause and has a very good impact going forward. So be like Steve. Check the link in the description. Actually, I take that back. For this part, we're going to bar that, and we're going to say, if you want to make a donation for this particular episode at this point, go to the link in the description for the Meander More. No, I'm sorry. There is not a Meander More. At this current point, there's not a donate button yet. We're working on a donate button. Go to Substack and donate that way. So subscribe to Substack, and that full amount that is subscribed goes straight to sponsoring a kid to bring them into the Meander More Youth Camp. That name is still, we're working on it. But that fully goes in there, and you get all the benefits of being a subscriber on Substack. The episodes, the sneak peeks, the behind the scenes, the articles, all of the stuff. So check that out. Support that way. It gets you something. It gets us something to help the other kids. And it's just a win-win all around. So if you've made it to this point, put the logs aside. If you want to do that at another time, it is truly appreciated. But for this one, help me help the kids, help me make a difference, and subscribe on Substack to make sure we get as many kids involved as we possibly can. Our goal is 10 kids. The expense of those 10 kids is around $250 a kid, and that's to provide them with all of the safety and the tools that they need and the space that we need and all of the things that goes into that. So keep that in mind when you're making those contributions. And I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I'm going to finish this beer and finish this shot just so you can see that. But that's pretty much all I got for the episode. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. I'm going to say that again in 1 second. But cheers with the beer. And I'm probably going to burp 15 times because it's a stout. There was a lot more left in there than I thought. Excuse me. I feel like it might be a little mixed bag of conflicting themes here. I'm like, oh, hey, support the kids. Look at me, drink all this booze. Oh, this is a big shot, too.
Yeah, it is.
You want some whiskey?
Kind of.
Oh,
I'm
hey,
cold.
come have some. All right, Carla's going to come in here and take a sip of whiskey real quick.
Oh, my goodness.
Take as much as you'd like, and I'll take the rest.
Only because I'm freezing.
The whiskey blanket on.
Oh. I don't like whiskey.
You want more?
No.
All right. If you made it this far and you're still listening to me ramble, I truly appreciate it. I don't even know if I'm looking at the right spot in the camera.
I can't even see him anymore.
I think we're right here.
Yeah.
If you made it this far, I truly, truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. And until next time, I appreciate you. Peace. That's going to be the end clip.
That's going to be the end clip.